So we're recording. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is how do you think the residency matched your expectations? So like your expectations you had at the beginning and like at the end, like did it meet what you thought it was going to, or was it very different?
It met more than what I thought that it would, because in my mind I thought she was just really going to be a teacher's aide, and we actually ended up co-teaching together probably really March is to me when she was taking the lead, and then in my mind I was thinking she was going to be more like a teacher's aide the whole time.
And I know that I was hoping to get more prepared than original, like how they used to do student teaching for a semester, because everybody said your first year of teaching is going to be awful, you're going to be so unprepared. And I knew I'd be more prepared than those people who did just one semester, but I didn't realize how prepared I would feel, because I've seen it done from beginning to end, and I feel like I can go into a classroom and be successful my first year.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit to Bethany's journey from the beginning to the end and the growth that you've seen?
Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to begin with that. Where should I begin? I remember you were kind of nervous, and I remember in the middle of a lesson she'd say, I don't even know where to go with this, can you help me? Which was really nice, because then I could jump in and then kind of take over, and then the next fourth grade group that would come in say, okay, now try it again. So she would get a second shot, and I remember you like falling to pieces going, I've messed them up. I'm like, girl, no, you're good. You're like, I'm here, it's fine.
And then now we've come in and seen you very confident in leading the room. And
now she's coming up with all these ideas that I'm writing down to use next year, or a lot of times we'll start using them immediately, like, oh, let's try that tomorrow with the reading groups.
Yes.
And the discussion groups.
So Bethany, you said that you felt that you're prepared for your classroom. Like what specifically? Can you speak to that?
As far as behavior, I feel prepared because I've seen what doesn't work, and I've seen the difference between the way I tried to do it the first time and the way she's done it, and I'm like, okay, I need to try more of like what she's doing, because she's got years of experience and she's found what works for her, and so I'll incorporate some of that, and I feel like I'm prepared in behavior that way. But as far as curriculum goes, if I get in an ELA classroom, I think I've got a year of experience with planning too, because we've been planning. Like I've watched her plan, and then I've gone to planning myself, so I feel prepared with curriculum too.
Awesome. So if you can think back, what are some of the top takeaways that you would take from Ms. Hendricks?
I don't even know. Just not being afraid to mess up, like, because you're going to mess up, and, in your behavior management, the way you talk to students is awesome, and I'm really trying to become her as far as like student relationships and just everything. She's awesome.
So we've got a whole new batch of residents coming in. What advice could you give them to balance this residency?
Don't be afraid to ask for help, because if you're going in trying to look like you're the best, you're not going to learn anything. But if you do like what she said, where I was like, I don't even know where to go with this, that's when she can help you. So just trying to improve. I don't know.
And don't be afraid to fail. Like, it's going to happen. She has seen me flop so many times with this curriculum. Mm-hmm. It's part of it. And I told her that. was one of the first things I told her. I was like, you're going to flop badly, but you're going to see me flip-flop all over this classroom some days. Just part of it.
That's exactly right. So for you, how does the residency compare to traditional student teaching? Like, can you talk about your experience, or have you had a student teacher before?
She is light years ahead of me. Just because I've told her she was so worried about messing somebody up or messing the students up with writing, and I'm like, girl, I messed students up for like 4 years before I figured it out, because I didn't have someone in there to say, wait, no, stop, do it like this, try it like this. Mm-hmm. And she's, in my opinion, she's a master teacher at writing.
That's so awesome.
And which is to me, that's one of the most
prepared, yeah.
That's one of the most difficult things to teach, is to teach a kid how to write essays and how to cite evidence. And
Can you talk a little bit about the difference in having 2 teachers in your classroom versus just you?
Oh gosh. Just with like Dr. Chu the other day, didn't you say when I walked out, the noise level just went up?
Yes.
So the proximity control is totally different. Like when she leaves, I'm like having to juggle teaching and, you know.
And when I'm teaching, she sees those that are not on task, so she's going around and getting them on task. And then when you were lead teaching, then I saw the same thing, like that she was telling me about that I never noticed. So that was kind of neat also. Also, I think a biggie is the biggie to me that I love is that when there is a student that's having their world is out of whack, we're able to take that child and talk with them privately, where normally I could never do that because there's just me.
And that's part of the reason those relationships are so good that I was talking about, like how you're able to just go and talk to them and stuff.
So nice.
And we're able to throw in ideas, like things that she may miss. If I'm standing in the back of the room, I may catch, and vice versa. So that's good too, having 2.
And some students respond better to her than they do me. And so that's worked out well too, because she's had students open up to her that would never open up to me. So that was nice.
So awesome. What all have you learned through the process? I've heard you say on multiple visits that's empowered your teaching. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Are you talking about like as far as with TNTP or what I've...
Like how you've learned to be a better teacher through this process?
It's made me, it was really hard at first because I had to slow my thoughts down, because an example would be she didn't know how to grade writing, because when I grade writing it's just super fast. So I had to really stop and analyze that, and then I kind of noticed that I was missing some things when I was grading writing, so that made me better. This has just been the year of growth for me.
And like every time I get observed by you, you say that I'm like your mini me.
Oh my goodness,
So everything I do wrong is something that...
Yes, and when someone critiques her, when TNTP comes, or when Miss Berry comes and critiques her, they're basically critiquing me, and I'm like, okay, got it. And I'll see it myself. I'm like, oh, we gotta fix that. Because she's my mini me.
So how do you think the students have responded to having 2 teachers?
I think they love it.
I don't think they see me differently. Like the 6th graders see me differently because I didn't teach them from the beginning. But 4th grade, they didn't know I was a student teacher until a few months in. Like they didn't know a difference. Like we're both their teachers.
That's awesome. So what advice do you have for future mentors?
I would say to definitely treat your resident as they are another teacher, because I immediately made sure that she handled the discipline. Like I would go to her and say, write that kid's name on the board, instead of me writing it. And I feel like I've tried to make a huge effort into making her feel like she's the other teacher, she's another me, because I think that's important for residents to get the true experience.
Even, I know this is for you, but even little things like on her PowerPoint the first day, it said Miss Hendricks and Miss Corona's classroom. I never felt like an outsider. So it wasn't her classroom that I was coming into, it was our classroom.
Yes. That was very important.
I love it. So if there's anything that you could change about the residency, what would it be?
All the ULM work the first semester, but aren't you changing that?
We are.
Okay. The fact that ULM's observations focus on classroom management, and what we're learning through TNTP is that the more important thing is curriculum. So I've never learned to focus on my curriculum, only on classroom management. So now I'm having to switch my thinking.
Okay.
So, but it was kind of nice because we got...
Yeah, it was kind of nice, but it was kind of juggling too at
Yeah.
times, because
it's like, what are they going to be looking for?
Right. Because that Danielson rubric is based on constructivism, and so it wants to know what are the kids doing, like what are the
Right.
actions, and it's not so... I understand what you're saying, because I've been on those walkthroughs where it's
That's right.
diving, looking at the curriculum instead of other, Okay.
so you could see how
I see.
difficult
Now
that
that you're
is.
saying that, yeah.
And it's something I would have to say, okay, they're not here to see necessarily you, they're wanting to see what the kids are doing. But with ULM, feel like ULM really is there to see what she's doing. So
Yeah.
it's kind of juggle. doing the
Another small
observations.
thing, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
No.
Another small thing is that, like, whenever our supervisors would come in, they would give you like a bunch of little things to work on,
Mhm.
and it's overwhelming almost because you've got to worry about all these changes when we should be focusing on like one thing at a time.
Mhm.
But
She gets that from TNTP too, because
Yeah.
that's what they taught us, like, don't overwhelm the residents with a lot to fix, because it's
Yeah.
overwhelming. Just focus on
One thing that fixes
one
lots.
thing, something, and just focus on that every week, which I guess I can't be here every week.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah. Do you have anything?